I'm Kev.
And I'm Steve.
And we're from the internet.
Want to get every episode of We're From The Internet at least a day earlier than the iTunes and Stitcher folk? Head over to we'refromtheinternet.com/pledge to support us on Patreon, and as well as early access, we'll throw in an exclusive weekly show just for our patrons too.
So, I was wondering if you guys have, any tips for, when the times get tough during college. I know you guys are, maybe older than I am, but it's always nice to get tips from people who are more knowledgeable than I am.
We just get called old.
And knowledgeable. It's a bit worrying.
Who is this who thinks we're old and knowledgeable?
This is Meowth, isn't it? On Twitter.
Interesting.
So, college. We established recently that I didn't do very well at college, and I believe you didn't either.
Does she, because I noticed a slight twang to the accent there. Yeah. Is she talking about university when she says college?
I'm going to assume so. But
because if I remember rightly, we both did rather well at university.
Well, yeah, we did do well at uni. My big number one tip there would be that you should. Well, if I learned anything from you in year one, it's to tell the lecturers that if you don't get the highest mark achievable, you're going to burn the uni or college down. And then no matter what you do for the rest of the time you're there, you'll probably get the highest mark by default. So Kev used to finish essays mid-sentence and just hand them in. And
do you reckon... Obviously, it's not because I threatened to burn the uni down, but... I hope... But I think it does have a lot to do with the fact that I just marched into that place and told the lecturers I was going to get a first on the first day. And I made it very clear that I 100% believed it. I was there to get a first. I remember saying to them, if I get anything less than that, it's a complete waste of my time. Yeah. And they just, I think they did just hand me marks every now and again just because, well, he talks a good game. He must be worth a first. As a teacher now... You are sometimes a little bit swayed by you. Sometimes, and you try not to. Definitely. You mark the person rather than the work.
Oh yeah, I'd get work from a kid who I knew took it home and tried to make it better, and I'd just think, why did you even bother? I'm giving you the top mark anyway, just because you're awesome. That's probably why I'm not teaching anymore. I was just
those of us who are good teachers try not to. And actually, I've been marking some mock exams today, and I've basically covered up the names on them, so I can't mark the person. I'm just trying to mark the answers, but it is hard because you recognise the handwriting and you think, oh, but I know you know the answer, and it is difficult. So I suppose if they're sat there, and again at uni they were supposed to not know whose work was whose, but I would say it would be pretty clear which work was mine because I write in a certain style. I always set it out in the same way, always use the same font. It's always nice and neatly header and footer and.
I reckon they often thought your work was mine because they often mix us up.
Yeah, I don't know that that's the case.
I reckon it is. I reckon
I've actually got one of my students who's going to our old uni to do our old course. Should I give him, as a piece of advice, threaten to burn the place down on your first day?
I don't think threatening them would be the best way, but I think telling them outright you're there to...
Would it work the same way from him, who's going to start there aged 18, whereas I was aged 27? Is it just the fact that I was a beardy, grumpy old man who marched in there and told them I was there to get a job done? Because I wouldn't have done that when I was 18. I couldn't have done that at 18.
Who didn't.
But they didn't walk in there with the confidence. The arrogance.
Yeah, but the thing is as well, though, it worked. Because when I got there, I didn't really think about it. I just thought I'm going to try really hard to catch up with everyone. And then 6 months in, I kind of just started demanding top marks and saying, what do I need to do to get that done? And it become more of a, okay, so if I just do this, and this, how much more do I need to do to get the top mark? And they'd just say, oh, this, and then I'd go and do it and hand it in knowing that I'd got it. And that was kind of the way I went. I always used to say, oh, I don't know what I've got. But I always made sure I'd spoken to the lecturer beforehand, like a week before handing, and just gone, done this much. If I do this, will I get a first? And that was it.
I stumbled across our old uni Facebook group yesterday because I was looking through Facebook groups for something else. I thought we'd closed that, but it still exists. And I got two things from it. First, I'm an unsociable swine because looking through that, I went back through the last 6 months of posts on there, which were all from like 5 years ago or whenever it was. And none, I'm not on there. I didn't use that group. But you're on there all the time. Oh, I've done this, and if I do... You people, if I do this, what mark is it worth? You were such a pansy. What are you?
I just made sure I knew where I stood.
And helping other people.
Well, yeah, I stopped doing that after a while. I kind of realised the futility of it all. But I think people... I was lucky that I realised quite early on that just finding out what you needed to do to achieve the best marks and doing it was easy. But people late on realised they needed to do the same, but it was obviously too late by then.
Would it be wrong of me at this point to suggest that Meow checks out lazystudentsguide.com?
No, I think
where she can find a selection of excellent revision and exam resources for people in her very situation, written by my evil twin, David.
That's good advice. But did we have any exams other than that?
We didn't have any exams at uni, did we?
We had one early on that I somehow was told I got over 90% in when I remember not doing the last page.
There was the
So
one.
that made me
There was
doubt
the one
their
in the
grades.
first year where I got penalised for being colourblind.
Oh yeah, that's
Where we had to put a computer together, and I'm red green
100%
colourblind, and I got 96 because I raised my hand and said to the invigilator, "I'm red green colourblind. Can you just tell me which one of these wires is red and which one's green?" No, it's an exam. Well,
asked me.
I don't want you to tell me where to plug them in. I just want you to tell me which is the red one. I know where the red one goes. I just need you to tell me which one is the red one.
Should have asked somebody else.
I should have taken that place down. If they'd have tried, if I'd got anything other, 96%, losing that one mark, I can probably live with that. But if that had been the difference between me and you finishing first on that degree, I would have burnt that place to the ground. Here I go again, burning unis down. That's kind of what I do.
So, I think the moral of this whole story so far has been, and assuming you are, I mean, if you're not even talking about uni, you are talking about what we would call college. So that depends for you in America, who's probably not sure what we're
That
on
would
about.
be high school.
Between
wouldn't
16
it?
and 18 is college for us. Between 18 and 21 is university for us. So either way, just go up to your lecturer and say, I want to get the top mark. What do I need to do? If they give you, because some people get asked this and they say, probably going to have to get a brain transplant, something like that, something awful and unencouraging. And then you've got to just say to them, look, I'm not saying you do need that because I don't know you, but you just need to say to them, no, seriously, I want to get the best marks I can in this. Tell me what to do. It's simple as that.
Quick fire tips from me. Teacher mode. Hold on. Engage teacher mode. Got my sound effects.
No.
Make sure you're doing something you really enjoy, because if you don't enjoy it, you won't want to do it. But if you think it's awesome, you'll read about it in your spare time. You'll do it anyway, and that'll make it much easier to pass. Make sure it's something you think you can do. Be confident at it. Just expect to get a good grade. You will get a good grade. And just work your ass off. You know? Get your work done a week in advance and send it to your lecturer and ask if it's any good. And if it's not, fix it.
There's nothing better than that. I loved having all my uni stuff done. The last 6 months of uni, when we were basically finished, I think there was only one that I actually stayed up late to do. And that was only because we didn't really get told what to do until a week and a half before it was due in. But that, yeah, it was such a nice feeling knowing it was all in the bag.
And also, I can highly recommend making sure you get the first coffee of the day every day. If you have to, just sit on the little shelf outside the coffee shop and make sure that the tea lady hands you the first coffee of the day. If you don't have the first coffee of the day, basically that day is a write-off. That is my big tip for university.
If you look back, actually, the order that we got coffee in each day pretty much was the ranking that we finished on the course.
We've blown university wide open. Is that all they're watching for?
There's always you, me, and two of our friends.
Yeah, so they're basically... It's probably not even to do with the coffee. They're just watching to see, right, who gets here earliest.
Yeah.
We'll give them the... But they obviously want it the most. They can have the highest grade. And I walked in the door first purely because I wanted that first coffee. So if I had been some kind of health nut who just had my juice in a bottle with me and could swan around at the back throwing snowballs at young people like you lot did, then I probably would have, I don't know, been homeless by now or something. Coffee makes you smart.
There you go.
Want to support the show? Do all your Amazon shopping through we'refromtheinternet.com/Amazon, and it doesn't cost you anything extra, but we get a little kickback on everything you buy.